So this is my 2006 Jaguar X-Type, and specifically looking at the A-pillar there on the passenger side. Does that look familiar to you? So all the material is just coming off it. Now, about a week ago, when I had the windscreen replaced, I took the opportunity to put some spray adhesive down there, and it sorted it out nicely. However, it did only last a week. So what I'm going to do is take off the A-pillar completely and completely rewrap it with different material. So here goes. So I've been reliably informed by someone on the Jaguar X-Type group that it's purely a case of starting at the top, getting your fingers underneath and just pulling down. So I'm going to give that a go. Oh. It's definitely coming off. I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand though, holding the phone. I've also just sprinkled loads of broken glass down from when I had the smashed windscreen, so a bit of hoovering up to do. So I'm going to take it off now, and I'll let you know if there's anything more that happens with it. Right, I'm not sure how well we can see this, but looking in the top, you've got a bit of that black strap there. So having got it as far as it is, so it's kind of just coming out, looks like that strap needs to come out, and it looks like it should just lift out the top there. Might need to pry it with a screwdriver, which conveniently I didn't bring out with me. And then after that, the whole thing looks like it should just lift out of the dash. So let's give that a go. All right, I actually managed to get it out with my fingers, that strap. However, having a screwdriver for future would probably make it a bit easier. It's just a little bit fiddly to get force behind it. So that's what it looks like when it's off anyway, and that's the actual A-pillar. So what a lot of people do is probably just either stick it back down or retrim it in the same sort of material. But while I've got it off, I thought I'd do something a bit more interesting with it, so I'm just going to wrap it with some different fabric. So now I've got them inside, all I've done is ripped off the material that was on it. Went easy in for the most part, but you can see where it's ripped the glue off, or the backing down there a bit. Not too bad, mostly towards the bottom. Because it was peeling off anyway, it wasn't too bad. And on the back, all I've done is give it a bit of a clean, because I'm going to be wanting to glue and tape onto the back. So the plan, because the original material was peeling off because it only went to the edges, what I'm going to be doing is making sure the new material goes right around the back, so then it's going to be trapped by the door rubber, etc. And also it'll be stuck on with some glue and some tape, as well as the spray adhesive on the front. So that's the next job anyway. Well, next job actually will be to lay this out on the material and cut it roughly to the right size before I stick it on, and then trim it down on the edges. So once you've got them stripped, you'll obviously need some material. So a couple of options here if you're not wanting to go for something boring. The Scooby-Doo one is actually a pair of pyjama bottoms, and the one on the right is a pillowcase. So both nice cheap methods of doing it if you've got second-hand material lying around. You don't have to go out and buy shiny new fabric. You can use most things really. If you wanted something basic, there's no reason why you couldn't use a sheet, for example, just a grey sheet that would match the head lining, or black if you wanted to match the dash. So these are just loosely fitted on at the moment. They're not cut or stuck or anything like that. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go with the one on the right, the pillowcase. I think the Scooby-Doo one will just be a little bit too much even for my car. If you've seen my car, then you'll know that I don't tend to do things in a boring way, but even that for me I think is too much. So I've cut the material in half. The next step then is to spray some spray adhesive on it, and I've come outside for this because this stuff goes everywhere, so I don't want to get it all over my carpet. Harley, I don't want to get it all over my dog either. Right. So I'm going to spray this on, and I'm going to quickly shove it in the half pillowcase that I've cut, and try and get it wrinkle free on the front. And then once I've done that, then I'll start trying to get it on the back and then cut it down further. See what I mean about it going everywhere? So once it's stuck on, then you can get some scissors to the awkward bits and start cutting it to shape and pulling it around the back and just making it taut. And what I'm going to do is put some spray adhesive on the back and then tape it down to make sure it's not going to move. Because it's essentially half a pillowcase and it goes round the edges, it's not going to come off anyway, but give it the best chance of staying as possible. Alright, so that's the first one in. Not quite as neat as I would have liked, just ended up getting some of the glue stuck to my hand, so it's left a few smudges, unfortunately. So one thing I've learnt from doing this is that it's easier without these clips in, the ones that hold it in to start with. So if you take it out and put it onto your A-pillar trim first, it's easier to push it in that way than it is to try and get it all fitted the way it came off. It's a bit awkward. You kind of twist it towards the windscreen and it pops out with some effort. I'd already loosened that. There's no way I could have done that with just with one hand otherwise. But there you go, that's what it looks like, so that's what you're up against. I found it easier to come in from the bottom part of it or the top rather than going from the sides. Anyway, so you clip the two bits together, which is what you're trying to do when it's actually on. Yeah. So when you're fitting it, that's what you're aiming for, and it's a bit of a pain. As you see, it's a bit of a pain even doing that with one hand. It's a pain because obviously the trim flexes. So what I'm going to do is fit it onto it first. This is really awkward actually trying to do it with one hand. There we go. So fit it on. Then this pushes in at the bottom. This is actually probably easier to see when you're doing it than me explaining it, in all honesty. So as you do it, you want to be using one hand to pull the rubber out the side, and then there's just a couple of bits on the inside, just below that tape there, which clip into corresponding holes into the pillar like that. So I'm going to need two hands for this. However, I'll say this is pretty self-explanatory, this bit. I think you'll see it as you do it. And there we go, all in. Again, not perfect, but compared to what it was like all hanging off, I'm quite happy. And the next stage will be to get rid of all this wood trim everywhere, probably with the same material, just to tie it all in, because I really don't like this fake wood. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully there'll be more useful stuff in the future, like getting rid of that wood, for example. Thanks for watching.